kind single dad help a dying girl on a lonely road, unaware she's a billionaire's missing daughter. The night swallowed the road in silence when a battered pickup rolled past a crumpled figure under a flickering streetlight, and the man behind the wheel felt his chest tighten before his foot could reach the brake. Because some moments don't ask who you are or how much you have. They simply demand that you stop. Rain clung to the windshield like a warning. The air smelled of wet dust and rust. And there she was, barely breathing, a young woman lying alone where even hope seemed afraid to pass. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of ordinary people doing the right thing when no one is watching, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness right now, because stories like this only live when we pass them on. The man's name was Adam, a single father whose world had shrunk to school lunches, night shifts, and the small bed where his daughter slept with her hand curled around a threadbare toy. Life had not been gentle with him since his wife passed, and every mile of that lonely road carried the weight of bills unpaid and dreams postponed. Still, when he saw the girl, pale and shivering, something older than fear took over. He wrapped his jacket around her, lifted her with shaking arms, and placed her carefully in the truck, whispering promises to a future he could not afford to imagine. Her dress was torn, her pulse weak, and there were marks that told a story of panic and flight. But Adam didn't ask questions. He only drove, faster than his worries, praying the hospital lights would appear before the night claimed another life. The drive felt endless, each red light a test of faith, each bump a reminder of how fragile she was. Adam's hands were scarred from years of labor, his back bent by responsibility, yet he held the wheel steady as memories of his daughter's fevered nights flashed through him. He knew the terror of helplessness, the feeling of begging the universe for mercy, and it fueled him now. At the emergency entrance, he carried the girl inside, clothes soaked, heart pounding, and when the doors closed behind him, he sat on a hard bench with mud-stained boots and waited, because waiting is what poor men do when the world decides the outcome. Hours passed like seasons. Nurses moved with practiced urgency, machines hummed, and Adam stared at the floor, replaying the moment he almost didn't stop. When a doctor finally emerged with cautious relief, Adam exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The girl was alive, stabilized but fragile, and there were questions. No identification, no family listed, no answers that fit. Adam offered what little he had. A name he didn't know, a place on a road no one claimed, and a promise to stay until someone came. He thought of his daughter at home, trusted a neighbor to watch her, and chose to remain, because leaving felt like a second abandonment he couldn't bear. Days unfolded with quiet tension. The girl slept, then stirred, her eyes opening to a world that felt unfamiliar. Adam visited between shifts, bringing oranges and stories he told to fill the sterile room with warmth. He spoke of his daughter's drawings taped to the fridge, of mornings that smelled like burnt toast and hope, of how life could break you and still ask you to love it. He never asked who she was, never wondered why her shoes were expensive or why strangers hovered outside the ward with worried eyes and whispered phones. To Adam, she was simply someone who needed help, and that was reason enough. What Adam didn't know was that the city beyond the hospital was on fire with questions. A billionaire's daughter had vanished days earlier, her disappearance splashed across screens and headlines, her father's fortune unable to buy certainty. Security teams traced rumors, scanned cameras, and followed threads that led nowhere, until a nurse mentioned a nameless patient brought in by a man with dirt on his hands and kindness in his eyes. The pieces began to align, and the hospital corridor filled with suits and restrained hope, while Adam sat unaware, calculating overtime hours in his head. When the truth finally surfaced, it arrived not with fanfare but with tears. The girl remembered fragments, fear, a wrong turn, a collapsing world, and then the face of the man who stopped. The reunion was raw and overwhelming, gratitude colliding with relief, and Adam found himself standing at the edge of a miracle he never intended to claim. He tried to slip away, embarrassed by attention, worried about his daughter waiting at home. But the billionaire father insisted on meeting him, not as a benefactor seeking applause, but as a parent who understood debt of the heart. The offer that followed could have changed Adam's life overnight. Money enough to erase worry, opportunities he'd never imagined. But Adam's struggle was not with accepting help. It was with preserving dignity. He asked only for one thing, that the girl be safe, that his daughter know the world still held goodness, and that kindness remained free of price tags. The billionaire, humbled, saw in Adam a wealth no balance sheet could measure, and he honored the request by building something better than a transaction, a bond of respect that would ripple outward. In the weeks that followed, Adam returned to his routines, but the weight he carried felt lighter. His daughter listened wide-eyed to the story of the night her father stopped on a lonely road, and she learned that courage often wears old boots and tired smiles. The city moved on, headlines faded, yet somewhere between a school drop-off and a late shift, Adam felt a quiet assurance settle in his bones, that when he chose compassion, the world answered in ways he could never predict. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that ordinary kindness can rewrite destinies, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness, because every click helps these stories find the people who need them most. Before we end, please comment below with the word kindness, and tell us where you're watching from, so we can see how far this ripple has traveled. And if this journey moved you even a little, engage with the video. Your support